Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Namaskar. Thank you very much. First and foremost, I want to thank Sri Ajit Jaokar for accepting our request and consenting to share his knowledge and wisdom and experience with all of us. Thank you very much, Ajit. I also thank Garje Marathi UK chapter promoters, mainly Ravindra Gargil. Sorry, Ravindra Garge, Bhushan Bonde, and Santosh Wadekar. Ravindra has taken great initiative in organizing this. Thank you very much. It is not about me. It is people are waiting here to listen to what Ajit has to say. So I'll just, but in a few words, take this opportunity and talk about Garje Marathi. Garje Marathi is the initiative that we started about 4 years back. The main purpose of this initiative is to get together Marathis around the world under the one platform, those who value education, entrepreneurship, and those who want to give back to society and do something for the society. Garje Marathi has four objectives. The objectives are specifically directed towards the Marathi community only. They are for the networking, sharing knowledge and wisdom, then giving back to society, celebrating success of fellow Marathis, and mentoring program. हे करण्यासाठी आम्ही अनेक इनिशिएटिव्ह चालू केले, पण त्यातले आता दोन इनिशिएटिव्ह आता आम्ही अतिशय जोर लावून करतोय, ते म्हणजे जीएमजी मेंटरिंग प्रोग्राम. जीएमजी मेंटरिंग प्रोग्रामसाठी आम्ही आमच्या वेबसाईटवरती अरेंजमेंट केलेली आहे. दोज हू वॉन्ट टू जॉईन एज अ मेंटर ॲज वेल एज जॉईन एज अ मेंटी, त्यांनी ते कसं करायचं, मेंटरच्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, मेंटीच्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज दिलेल्या आहेत. त्या प्रोग्रामलाही चांगला प्रतिसाद आम्हाला मिळतोय आणि वी हॅव मोर दॅन 40 रिअली हाय अचिव्हर्स, अकॅडमिक्स, एंटरप्रेनर्स, social entrepreneurs who have offered their services as mentor. Then we have recently started Garje Marathi Innovation Academy. Under Innovation Academy, we are going to share knowledge of our experts with those youngsters and young entrepreneurs who wants to jump into the world of startups. हा जो प्रोग्राम आहे, हा प्रोग्राम संजय इनामदार हेड करतात. संजय इनामदार इज ॲडवायझर टू द गव्हर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया for All India Technical Institute and for the startup initiatives. So this program is definitely going to benefit all. Under that program, yesterday only we met a few people. Actually, College of Engineering, Sri Guru Govind Singh College of Engineering नांदेड च्या फॅकल्टीज बरोबर, त्यांच्या स्टुडंट बरोबर काल आम्ही कनेक्ट झालो. आपल्या ह्या सगळ्या प्रोग्रामला, ॲज आय ऑलवेज मेन्शन, वी हॅव ब्लेसिंग्स ऑफ डॉक्टर रघुनाथ माशेलकर, पद्मभूषण रघुनाथ माशेलकरांचं ब्लेसिंग्स आहे. त्याचप्रमाणे नागपूरचे डॉक्टर उदय बोदणकर, नंतर युनिव्हर्सिटीचे गणपती यादव, संजय इनामदार आणि भूषण गोखले, एअर मार्शल भूषण गोखले, हे आपल्या ॲडवायझरी कमिटीमध्ये आहेत. हे सगळं काम करण्यासाठी आतापर्यंत जे चाललंय त्याच्याशिवाय आता आम्ही आमची वेबसाईट हायली प्रोफेशनल लेवलला आता अपग्रेड करतो आहोत. इन नेक्स्ट 45 days इट विल बी अवेलेबल. आणि टू रीच पीपल आम्ही वेबिनार्स जशी करतो तशी आम्ही थिंक टँकच्या मीटिंग पण करायचो. नाव रिसेंट कोविड हॅज स्टॉप दॅट, बट यू सी ऑलवेज वेन वन डोर क्लोजेस अदर डोर ओपन्स. वी विल कॉन्सन्ट्रेटिंग ऑन लोकल वेबिनार्स, लोकल थिंक टँक मीटिंग्स यूज टू फिजिकली मीट. ते बंद झाल्यावरती नाव वी आर डुईंग धिस अँड वी आर कनेक्टेड टू वर्ल्ड. फ्यू डेज बॅक आपल्याकडे ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर श्री नितीन गडकरी एक्सक्लुसिव्हली आपल्या प्रोग्रामसाठी कर्जे मराठीच्या लोकांसाठी आले होते. तेव्हा 23 देशातले 180 लोक आपले जॉईन झाले होते त्या प्रोग्रामला. आज सुद्धा आय एम शुअर वी विल हॅव व्हेरी बिग अटेंडन्स फ्रॉम ऑल अराउंड द वर्ल्ड. आणि मला गरजे मराठीशी एवढंच सांगायचं आहे. बाकी एवढी विनंती आहे की सगळ्यांनी जॉईन व्हा ह्या प्रोग्राममध्ये. आपण सगळ्यांनी मिळून आपल्या कम्युनिटीसाठी, आपल्या देशासाठी आणि आपली कर्मभूमी ॲज वेल एज आपली जन्मभूमी यासाठी डेफिनेटली काहीतरी करू शकतो. आपल्या मराठी माणसाची आयडेंटिटी ही एज्युकेशन, एंटरप्राइज, एंटरप्रिनरशिप आणि हार्डवर्क, ऑनेस्टी ही आहे. त्याच ऑनेस्टी, त्याच आयडेंटिटीजना आपण एकत्र धरून आपण एकत्र येणार आहोत. दिस इज Garje Marathi is purely non-commercial program. There will be no finance or no money transaction involved. On that note, I will hand it over to Ravi to introduce Ravindra Gargil, to introduce Ajit and say a few words about UK, Garje Marathi UK, as well as the program. Before I go out, I'll tell everybody, please stay mute. Please log in only on one device and question and answers can be put in chat. Ravi will take the question, compile the questions at the end of the session. Over to Ravi Garje.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for welcoming and introduction of GMG, that is Garje Marathi Global. I'm going to talk about Ajit now. Ajit, I'm in touch with for last four or bit years, and it was very hard to get his time and get connection with him. But in last 2.5 years, it has really taken off. So I'm going to talk about his professional and academic career. But the best part is that he's available to connect, meet, make new friends, make new connections. Currently, he is the course director of artificial intelligence, cloud and edge implementation at University of Oxford. He is about to finish his PhD in AI. Now he will talk about that more. He has already has a master's in information system from Salford University. He is selected in, I think, 30 most influential people in AI space recently around the world. Yeah. So he is one of the known figures in the AI community around the world. He is principal data scientist and AI designer for FinLabs London. He is a great mentor for various AI startups, and in that space, he is doing a lot of work. He is also advisor to AI initiatives in Harvard Kennedy Schools since March 18. So this is on his academic side. Now I will give you a quick example. Now yesterday I sent a achievement of one of our person from Netherlands, and she is doing some pioneering work in astrophysics. And like I sent it at 9 o'clock in the night, and today morning I got a message from Ajit saying that Ravi, thanks for the share, and I already connected with that person, and we are going to work together. So this is the speed at, naturally he is in AI space, so this is the speed he is going to work. So we are going to really enjoy the session. I'll be collecting the names of the people who are putting their questions in chat window, and towards the end, we will have an opportunity to ask those questions to Ajit. So with this short introduction, I will hand it over to Ajit to start his session. Thanks.
I'm muting myself now. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Ravi, and welcome everybody. Namaskar. I will be sharing my screen first of all, and we can have questions in whichever language. I will try to keep the presentation a little bit in English, but it's just easier to explain AI in English rather than that. So first of all, I mean, Ravi has kindly introduced me, and I will say a little bit more about the same thing. Realistically, as most of what I do is in Oxford. In Oxford, we look at AI for cloud and edge, meaning AI on chips, on IoT devices. I also look at cybersecurity and areas like that. So it's quite a complex thing with that. And as a part of my startup, I also work with a range of clients from all over the world, mostly in bioinformatics, cybersecurity, and a range of things with that. So I think that I have a unique mixture of academia as well as industry. And in this case, we are going to start talking about just somebody's trying to annotate the screen, so I'm not sure what this is. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm just.
We are able to see you.
Yeah, I know, but there is a request to annotate the screen, and now my mouse counter has gone. Somebody requested that they wanted to annotate the screen. Okay, I think it is better not to do this. Let me try this again. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. Okay, good. So I think that the main thing I wanted to say is that today it is about startups, meaning it is about you. And as Anand said as well, that we have a mentorship program. And at the end of this, I guess if you are interested in the mentorship program from me for AI and others, you can contact Anand or other Garje Marathi. And this will be the process we will follow to engage if you want to get more insights from there. Again, it's all completely voluntary. It is not a commercial thing from my side as well. So first of all, I'm going to talk about, in the end, I'm going to talk about strategies. Strategies meaning what you can do. Within 45 minutes is a very short time to cover AI, but I hope you will be able to take something very useful out of this. And that useful thing is really strategies. What can you do as a startup and what can you do as an SME. And this is, I think, would cover most of you in some shape or form. But to get to that, I will be explaining some ideas before what is machine learning, what is deep learning, and really I'm not going to talk about technical things or mathematical things. I'm going to talk about what problems are being solved and why are those problems relevant now. Yes. And this, once you understand this idea, you can understand how you can apply this in terms of your business and your problems. Okay. So first of all, the definitions I'm going to use is machine learning means that you explicitly train an algorithm. Deep learning is automatic feature detection, and I will explain what this means. And artificial intelligence means machines that can think and reason based mostly on deep learning algorithms. And when I say artificial intelligence, the media confuses two types of artificial intelligence. The first one is called the general artificial intelligence, which is the sort of thing which Elon Musk talks about or Bill Gates talks about, where you create something which is more intelligent than human beings. But the reality today is mostly that we are using AI for really specific narrow problems, and this is really the area we are talking about. So I worked on examples like drug discovery, meaning trying to find new medicines and trying to find new areas where you can apply AI. So these are real life problems, and these are problems with you as startups would be solving. So this will be my focus. So my focus is very much here and now. It is not about something very far in the future. So the first thing to talk about is traditional programming takes data and rules and you get an outcome. And in artificial intelligence or machine learning, you create the rules. Yes, you try to find out what the rules are behind something. This is an important idea because it will help you to understand AI if you understand this diagram a little bit. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you are trying to find out a problem and you're trying to understand a problem by finding out the hidden rules behind the problem. Yes, and this is the crux of the whole discussion. And artificial intelligence, machine learning or deep learning is a way to find out those rules. Yes, and this is mostly taken from my teaching in Oxford, so it's fairly sort of things I'm used to discussing. The other point is artificial intelligence is affecting everything, just about everything today. And this is why any startup you do in gaming, whether it is in healthcare, whether it is in self-driving cars, all of these areas in the future, or telecoms, all of these areas in the future are going to use artificial intelligence, or they are already using artificial intelligence. The next thing is that artificial intelligence or data science is actually three jobs and not one. So when people talk about AI or a data scientist as a job, actually, there are three jobs. The first job is that of a data engineer. So data engineer is somebody who takes in data. The data scientist is somebody like me who creates an algorithm. And the DevOps is the person who deploys that algorithm to to an ecosystem. So if you have a large bank, you possibly have those three different jobs and three different roles. If you are a small company, you are actually doing these three roles together. But the point is that there are three distinct functions within AI, and that's why it is quite complex. And traditionally, when you train an algorithm, you have to retrain the algorithm as well, which means that you train the model, you validate the model, you deploy the model, and then you have to retrain it and refresh it all the time. So this is why the professional side of AI or machine learning is quite complex. When you look at a big bank, when you look at financial services, when you look at telecoms, all of these would sort of combine data engineering, data science, and DevOps. In a smaller role, you might do just one, or you might do all three together in the one job, but this is generally how it looks like at a big scale. So now we look at what is and what is not AI. Yes. The first one is this is how people look at AI. Yes. So when you look at the media always thinks about it like this Arnold Schwarzenegger type situation, where you have sort of somebody coming in and taking all over jobs, and humans killing AI and AI killing humans and stuff like that. Yes. Then there is the other aspect of AI taking jobs. Yes, so a lot of people look at it this way as well. They look at it as saying that AI is going to cross a lot of unemployment, etc., and things like this. Uh, The other thing, of course, is no matter how you look at it, everybody is going to be using AI. So if you look at self-driving cars, all these are coming, and that means that AI will be in our life or is already in our life now. So there's almost many of these discussions are a little bit academic within there. I look at AI like this. Yes, so this is the samurai warrior. And the reason I use this particular analogy is because the samurai basically fight to win. Yes. And people who are like me, who are kind of employed by large companies for AI, normally are involved in intellectual property. Yes. So they are involved in creating intellectual property. And that is the game. That is the game you should be playing at a startup, because intellectual property is, so you can look at open source, code is open source, hardware is open source, very hard to protect all of these things. But AI machine learning models actually can protect, can create defensible IP. And this is really where a lot of the sort of the focus of AI is coming into play. And people who are paid a lot of money are generally brought in to make this kind of a difference. And this is what as a startup you should be looking at as well. So there is only one slide of mathematics here. I do promise that. So there is no more mathematics other than this one. So this slide I wanted to show you because on the left hand side is your high school equation. Yes, so you might recognize the equation on the left hand side. It is the equation of a straight line, and it's the equation y equals to mx plus c or y equals to ax plus b. Yes, on the right hand side is a function which is not defined. Yes, it is a squiggly function. It is not possible to find out an equation for this function. But the promise of deep learning, the promise of AI is that given any function like this on the right hand side, it can model this function, and it can implement this or implement this function. What that means is Siri is a function, for example. Yes, so facial recognition is a function. Anything where you take an input and an output is a function. And if you are able to train some neural network which can understand the behavior of a function given inputs and outputs, then that's a very powerful idea. Yes, that's a very powerful idea, because what that means is that you are able to model the behavior of something. You don't know exactly how it works in many cases. You don't know what the function is. However, given enough inputs and outputs, you are able to model the behavior of this function. And if you're able to do that, then you have something very interesting, very powerful. And this is really where you should think about. And that is what I mean by intellectual property. This is how I mean by deep neural networks to be capable of modeling some interesting problems. So I mentioned to you about machine learning. Machine learning problems are coming from statistics, and they are mostly classification, regression, rule extraction, and stuff like that. This is something from before. It's easier to explain them using pictures. So you have classification, regression, meaning trying to find out the best fitting line. Anomaly detection, you're trying to find outliers. Clustering, we're trying to find groups of different things coming together, and so on and so forth. Now, this problem actually is defined, meaning that it has been implemented many years. It is a part of statistics. It is not something very new. Yes, so this is all straightforward. Yes. Now, deep learning, what problem is deep learning solving? So deep learning is what is driving AI. Deep learning is what is driving artificial intelligence. Yes. So let us look at what deep learning is solving. So I like to think of it like training something. Yes, like a lion trainer. Yes. So imagine if I have to train to find out the rules. Yes. So there are three possibilities to think about rules. Yes. First of all, given a problem, I can think about all possible rules of the problem. Yes, I can do if then else statements for everything under the sun. Obviously, this is not an easy thing to do. Yes, because given a problem, I cannot understand what all the rules, what all the possibilities are going to be. I can think of them enough, but there will be always something else, something new, which I would not have thought about. Yes, so obviously there is a limitation in trying to find out every if then else statement. The second one is taking the rules from the data. Now, this is what is coming under spam detection and stuff like that. And what that you do is that you train this is machine learning. So in this case, you're training the data training the algorithm using data, like spam detection, meaning it is a spam or no spam or stuff like that. And this is great. And the third one is when you find the rules and the structure from the data. And this is what you call deep learning. And the rules are hierarchical. And what I will explain to you what hierarchical means as well. So this is the complex problem. This is not an easy problem to do. Now, how should I explain this problem? The way to explain this problem is to think about what I call a finite domain problems. So if you think about in the 1970s, many of us follow the history of computing. And in the 1970s, Deep Blue from IBM defeated the chess champion Garry Kasparov. Yes, and this was a game of chess. Yes, the game of chess is actually very easy for a computer. It is easy for a computer because it is a finite domain problem. A finite domain problem means that you have 8 by 8 squares. Yes, every piece in chess is doing the exact same thing. You can do the king behaves in a certain way, the rook behaves in a certain way, the pawn behaves in a certain way. Yes, therefore, from a computer's point of view, this world has some boundaries. The boundaries are very well defined, and every permutation combination can be computed in advance. Yes, you understand this. Yes, and when you do it like this is an easy game for a computer to do. Now, if you look at the right-hand side, the problem on the right-hand side is actually trying to recognize a dog. This is the problem a child can do. Yes, a child can look at a dog and say that that's dog. Yes, and the child can do that because the child knows what are the characteristics of a dog. Yes, so a dog has long ears, it has fur, it has a nose and things like this. It can be friendly. However, a computer cannot very easily recognize the picture of a dog. The reason for that has to do with there are many variants around the same thing. So for example, a dog could have long hair, long tail, short tail, collar, no collar. It could be an Alsatian, Doberman, Chihuahua, Basenji, any types of breeds of dogs, hundreds of breeds of dogs. So there is no easy way to classify or define a dog from a computer's point of view. Yes, so this is what is called a non-finite domain problem. A finite domain problem is one on the left, like chess, where the world of the problem is defined very clearly. A non-finite domain problem is one where you are not able to define the scope of the problem, but yet you have to define the object. And this is the challenge which deep learning is trying to do. Now, how does it do it? Now, I will explain this example. I like this example quite a bit. It is actually the way in which most deep learning works. So deep learning works in using series of layers. The lowest layer does something. The layer after that builds on the previous layer. The layer after that builds on the previous layer, and so on and so forth. So for example, the lowest layer in this case tries to find out the pixels. The one above tries to find out contours, meaning the edges. The one above tries to find out objects, like for example, the sort of glasses or the headband of the woman and things like this. And finally, you have a classifier where it says that this is a woman or not. And the approach in this case is bottom up. Yes, so bottom up meaning that it is trying to find out from the lowest level what are the constituents of the problem, and then working upwards to try to find out what makes that thing. Yes, so you do not say that a cat will have fur, or it will have whiskers, or it will have teeth or something like that. The computer automatically detects those features. Yes, and this is what I mean by deep learning is automatic feature detection. Yes, and why is this relevant? Because then you can solve the problem which is not in the finite domain space. Yes, so a finite domain problem, the problem for solving a finite domain problem is that you unfortunately cannot sorry, I'm going to decline the annotate request because it sort of takes away my screen control. Some people are asking to annotate the screen. I will share the screen with you. I will share the slides with you. There's no problem with that. But I think if I give you control to annotate the screen now, for some reason it loses my I think with that. Okay, cool. So to coming back to this problem here is that what I'm trying to tell you is that in this case, deep learning is working to find out something bottom up, and you're not telling what comprises the object. So you're not telling a dog should comprise this is this. The algorithm is trying to figure it out on its own. And this is a very powerful idea. This works under lots and lots of situations, not just trying to pictures of cats and dogs. Of course, it was started off with pictures of cats and dogs from Andrew Ng, but then you can do it in Siri, you can do it in Facebook facial recognition, you can do all sorts of things. So there are many different types of AI problems which you can encounter in terms of working with things. So the types of AI problems, what I call is is domain expert, meaning that you can learn something. So you can learn a lawyer, you can learn the behavior of a lawyer, and you can model that. This domain extension, meaning that I can discover new things based on a body of knowledge. So for example, I can learn protein molecules, then I can predict other protein molecules, which could be drugs or not, meaning it could be medicine or not. AI can do communication, meaning it can do like things like chatbot. AI can do perception, which is in self-driving cars. AI can do complex planning. So if you remember your engineering, you must have operations research or subjects like that. So the thing with AI is that you have many, many parameters which humans cannot easily try to understand, and AI does that quite well. AI can understand a business process and re-engineer the business process. AI can look at second order consequences, meaning look at insurance, look at things like this and so on. AI can look at super long sequences. Super long sequences meaning genomics or things like these. So genomics, a genome sequence is very large, and you can take a very large sequence and within that do other things with it. So now I'm going to talk to you about things which you can do in practice. So the goal of this session was to give you a background considering you are startup or an SME, and what could you do to make a difference. Yes, and ultimately if you are interested to work with Garje Marathi and me, then you can talk to Anand, and we can talk about the mentoring thing. So I tried to sort of summarize what are the strategies the startup could do. My first strategy is you must build something which will improve with experience. Yes, so I will give you the example of Amazon. Yes, so Amazon is a bookstore on the web, but do you want to start a bookstore on the web? Yes, you could find books to sell. Yes, you could sell, but you are not able to learn as much as Amazon has done. Yes, because every transaction has meant that Amazon has learned. So the first strategy is whatever you design in your startup needs to improve with experience, meaning that transaction person one uses the algorithm, person two uses your service has to be better for person two, and person three has to be even better from person one and person two. Yes, if you don't do this, then you do not have AI basically. Yes, so you are not learning. Yes, if you're not learning, then you are not building a startup which is defensible. And that is the whole point of what I talked to you about the samurai warrior, is that you must think about learning faster than the other person, whether you're doing drug discovery, whether you're doing any kind of startup where your algorithm must have learned more than anybody else's algorithm. Yes, and the faster, the better, and that would work. The second strategy is the model is the intellectual property. Yes. So when I say the model, it means in model is data and algorithm. So you have some data, you have an algorithm, and that is your intellectual property. Now, the best example of that is Google. Yes. So Google has something called PageRank. The PageRank is an algorithm written by Larry Page in his Stanford dissertation. Yes. And the PageRank algorithm is available on the web. And but the Google's model, which means that the algorithm plus data which Google has uniquely owned, is not available on the web. Yes, so the beauty of that is that the algorithm, the way that is done is available, but the model, which is the algorithm plus the data, is the secret sauce of Google. Yes, and this is what you must have. You must have at the startup some secret sauce to of your own, even if your algorithm may be known to somebody, or even if your data is known to somebody. Now, the third point is similar to the first two, is that you can either own a body of data or enhanced body of data, even if somebody else owns the data. Yes. So people come to me and say, well, I don't have any data. I can't build a startup. Yes. So I tell them that Google doesn't own data as well. Yes. So Google, whenever you create a link, if Garje Marathi links to my site, yes, then Garje Marathi is endorsing me. Yes, because they have created me a link. Yes, but the data is owned by Garje Marathi. So Garje Marathi can take away that link anytime. Yes. So the data is owned by somebody else, but Google is seeing all these links. Yes. So Google is owning the metadata behind those links. Yes. So the data itself may be owned by somebody else. It doesn't matter if you don't own the data, but you must have enriched the data in some shape or form, and the data must be owned by that enriched data must be owned by you. Protein databases is the same thing. Ancestry.com is the same thing. You know Ancestry.com. Ancestry.com is a website which allows you to find out your ancestors from anywhere. Yes. So the publicly available, they use publicly available data first, then they do stuff to it. Yes, so that the things they do afterwards is owned by them. Yes, but the data, original data is still in the public domain. You could build your own ancestry.com if you so wanted to. Yes, so this is my strategy point. Third point. The fourth point is it must be a hard problem, but not like the Netflix challenge. So I don't know how many people know Netflix challenge. So Netflix, you know the Netflix, the same Netflix everybody uses. About 5 or 6 years ago, they proposed a challenge. They said that can somebody create an algorithm which can predict what people will watch or something like that. And of course, the challenge was won by somebody, but the problem solution was so academic that it was not implementable. Yes. So you need to produce a solution which is doable. Yes, which must work. Yes, it must not work only in theory, because otherwise there are quite a few algorithms which work very nicely on paper, but not in real life. You can't implement them so that they can run with that. The last strategy for startups is that you must improve and demonstrate the business state of art. So we are assuming that we are talking about a business. Yes, we are talking about a commercial situation. And so what you must do is that you must build something which must improve the state of art. So for example, if you look at fraud detection as a problem, yes, the fraud detection has been around for a very long time. Yes, so when you look at sort of from about 40-50 years ago to online transactions, there has been fraud. Yes, so if you say that you got a fraud detection algorithm, you must be able to do something better than what is already being done. So this is the point about it. You may do something real time, to be something big data, but whatever it is. So this problem then becomes the state of the art from the real world kind of situation. So these are my 5 strategies for startups, and most startups would fall under one or more of these. The most critical one of these is that you must decide what is it that you are going to learn. Meaning by learn, I mean which rules are you going to learn and how are you going to learn them, which data are you going to use for that, whether you will scrape the data, whether you will learn, whether you will process the data somehow, and so on and so forth. So this is the general strategy of AI. Now, what if you are not like the samurai warrior? Yes, what if you're like a small SME? Yes, so this is a different strategy. So if you're an SME, then I think I would suggest you 6 strategies. The first one is find out what AI can do and don't do. So don't look at the hype, because the media does hype a lot of things. Look at more or less the more kind of people who are talking about real basic things. People are talking about real problems, how you can solve them, that type of stuff. The second thing is think about process automation instead of artificial intelligence. So most of the times you can think about a particular role or a particular job, and you can think about how can this job be automated using data. Yes, so I can give you an example. If I go on my walk around London and I see a lawnmower. Yes, I see the lawnmower and I think that I can build an AI which can do that job. Yes, because I can train an AI to automatically learn the shape of the lawn, and then every time it is done, the lawn will be done by this machine which will move automatically. Yes, so almost everything can be trained and learned, and once it is learned, it can be done with that. So this is, instead of thinking about artificial intelligence or algorithms, think about how can this problem be automated. The third one, people don't like this one, but again, I'm not here to talk about ethics of employment and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk to you about strategies. So look for AI in existing products, especially which have high people costs. Yes, so think about lawyers, think about accountants, think about things like that. So the advantage of that is many products already have AI in them. Yes, so mostly if you are doing these sort of products like Sage, for example, if you're doing QuickBooks or any of those products, they already have some AI within them. Symantec products like cybersecurity, they have a lot of AI within them. So you don't have to write your own AI as a SME. You can think about how can this be used. Maybe you can take an API from them. Maybe you can extend that to your own problem or so on and so forth. You don't have to create your own intellectual property. You can think about how you can use this property. The next one is explore cloud platforms. The cloud platforms are absolutely amazing, and I'm not taking any sides here. So I'm saying that between the 3 of them, and the market is basically dominated by 3 players in this order, which is Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Yes, so AWS, Azure, and GCP. Yeah, those three cloud platforms are more or less dominating about 80-90% of the marketplace. I know there is IBM and I know there is Oracle and others, but those three are possibly the big ones at the moment. So my point is that all the cloud platforms are making your life easier. I'm not saying any particular one, but I'm saying they're all doing the same thing. So you could do very well by using some kind of a drag and drop type thing with a cloud platform, and this would work very well for you as well. And the final two strategies are explore AI for analytics and implement machine learning as opposed to deep learning. So when I say implement machine learning, it could be many of the algorithms like classification, regression, and stuff like that. And those are relatively easy to implement. And think about that. They might solve about 80% of your problem. You might not need to do a more complicated deep learning problem within that. Okay, so this more or less finishes my presentation. I do want to talk to you about one other thing, but apparently if I play the video, the sound will not come. So I wanted to talk to you about Ocado. So this is Ocado. And Ocado basically works by it's a series of robots. We know them because the Paul Clark, who is the guy on the right hand side here, the CTO of Ocado, and this is my class in Oxford, by the way. This is our campus, and my room is on the left, on the top left, above those red stairs. And these are my students, some of my students. And Paul Clark is talking to us about this. And here the problem is that these robots are able to autonomously work together. So how you see the Amazon factory work and things like these. And most of what we talk about in our class in Oxford solves this kind of a very massive problem. So it's a problem where you have a, a warehouse which is like a football pitch, more than one football pitch, yes? And then you have these autonomous robots, which are self-directed, and they go through each other and they help each other out. And there are multiple AI in that. So for example, there is computer vision, which does the object detection. There is different classifiers. There is self-driving algorithms and so on and so forth. So my point is that this is where the world is going to go. Unfortunately, I can't play this video because I play the video and I won't get any sound. But so I won't play it right now. So I'd rather have you, because I'm going to share the slides, you can play this video from the URL and you will see this quite well within that. So one final point is, as I mentioned to you, is I'm quite happy to share and mentor startups. For this reason, I'm a part of the startup program, which Anand mentioned at the beginning. If you contact Anand or Garje Marathi about the startup thing, I will help you with that as a part of the process. And then that again is a social thing from my perspective as well. So thank you very much. So I think this completes my presentation. I think we have time for Q&A, which is quite good. And I think I will take questions. I think questions are more important, especially in the subject like this. So thank you. I now hand over back to Anand. Yeah.
Can you stop sharing your screen,
Yes,
Ajit?
of course. Yeah. Stop sharing my screen. Done.
Fine.
Good.
So I have
Over to Ravi. Over to Ravi.
Yeah.
Ravi, please take over.
We will start with Ajit Pati.
Okay.
Ajit, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Ajit?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I need to see my question first now. So yeah, one of the challenges which I don't face, but entrepreneurs would face, would be the availability of data to train in AI or ML algorithm, right? And as you said earlier, like Google or Facebook, they have this huge amount of data, and I think you address it in your session as well. But for an entrepreneur to get access to any form of data in any field, medical or otherwise, would be a big challenge. So, what would your suggestions be to address that problem?
So I think that it's a chicken and egg problem, and to a certain extent, I can tell you from my own experience. I worked with a drug discovery startup. The startup was actually funded by a very large medical company, and the way they worked on it is that they So the data is available in the public domain as protein databases. What you then do is you build an algorithm which works around that thing. So in this case, that availability of data is always a common problem, but it is not a showstopper. So my point is that as a startup, I wouldn't recommend you to compete with Google or try to find out a problem where the domain doesn't exist. And there are many areas where you can find out data quite well. I will give you another example. So there is a startup in the UK which overturns parking tickets. Yes, and the way they did this is they went to the court, they used the Freedom of Information Act, and they found out parking ticket information. Yes, so they trained the algorithm based on historical parking tickets, where they said that this was the condition and this was the result. And having got that body of data, they then created an algorithm which can help you predict how you can fight your parking charges, things like that. Cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
So next is Bhushan.
I
Can you
know.
unmute yourself now?
Yeah, hi there. Yeah.
Hello, Bhushan. Hi.
So one of my kind of question there is to understand at the moment in the industry, I mean, maybe in startups world or something, what is patentable? Is it the algorithm that is generated via this thing, or is it the actual the learning, whatever we train, for example, to do transfer learning, is that patentable today in the market? What is patentable, or is it both? And if it is both, then what is at the moment governing the in the patent office? If you have an idea around it, what is it that basically is marketable?
Yeah, so this is a more complex problem. Well, I mean, this is a problem which lawyers are addressing too. But my basic idea, and I will get a slightly more deeper discussion here. So many of the algorithms are open sourced, yes, as you know. Yes, so for example, in Python, you have scikit-learn library, which is open source. So what people tend to do is that they take, depending on which license the original source software is released. So for example, if it is Apache version 2 license, you take an open source version of it and you fork it. And in doing so, you create your own version, which is not in the public domain. So this, of course, is not patented, but it is your own IP, which is built from somebody else's IP in open source. Now, the question about patenting is, I still think that the patenting option within the AI industry is mostly active around devices. Yes, so I think that mostly when people are patenting something, they are trying to patent something, not just the algorithm or the model, but trying to look at how that is embedded within a specific category of device. So for example, recently there was a patent around facial detection or expression detection using data. Now this sort of this was done by Affectiva. Affectiva is a company from which is a spin-off from MIT, and so they patented something about facial expressions and facial detection in using AI. So things like these are still very patentable, but I think that this is a longer discussion. But the answer to your question is, you asked one or the other, or I think the answer is both. I also think that people don't actually use one algorithm. So people use an ensemble of algorithms. Ensemble is a French word which means collectively. Yes. So you fire off a bunch of algorithms and try to solve it using one problem. So it may not be one algorithm actually. So you might not be saying that you are using naive Bayes algorithm to solve this problem. You're saying that you are using XYZ series of strategies to do that. Cool. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Renuka has a question. Yeah, Renuka,
Yeah.
go on. You can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Jaokar. Hello.
So,
Hi. Hi. I'm a mortgage broker, and most of the time I have queries from my clients that how my property is going to behave in this current climate. So how do AI will help me in understanding how the property market is going to behave in certain postcode? I mean, we do have websites available wherein you can go and see how what is the value of your property, but they are very vague. And how will I embed this AI in my website or in my conversations with the customer so that we can have accurate conversations or data, and will be able to help me in understanding or helping them to get onto the property portfolio or understand how the the property is going to behave in this current climate. Yeah.
Okay. So I will break this question down into two parts. The first part of the question is quite easy to do. So because the property prices are actually in the public domain. Yes. So the sale of the house prices, how many bedrooms it had, whether it was near a school, all those sort of things are in the public domain. And there is enough sort of algorithms to do that. It's a relatively simple problem. And in that sense, there are many companies like Rightmove and all those, they do the same thing. Really. So I think that that type of data, I think the first question which was asked by Ajit Patil, I think was to do with the same thing. So this is where do you get the data? In this case, the data is publicly available. And then you can do kind of more things to it. You can write your algorithm, which is more clever and stuff like that. And it can do this. Maybe it can do, maybe your data can merge from multiple sources. So for example, you can take one data feed from your public data set, which shows what the price of the house was sold. Then you could take another data feed from something else. So for example, it could be from a retail data feed. Yes, so it could say that these are the shops in this area at this point in time, and you can say that in the future, by planning permission, there is a big Sainsbury's coming near the marketplace. Yes, is this going to increase or decrease the price of your house? Yes, so you can take a base feed from the public domain. You can enrich that feed using multiple data sets, which are maybe also be in the public domain, and then you can create your own algorithm, which will be better than somebody else. The second part of your problem is harder. And you said the current climate, more than once you said the current climate. Yes, the current climate is a massive anomaly. Yes, so this is not something which an algorithm can predict very easily. Yes, because there is no history with that. There are certain ways to do that, but those are very hard to do. And so, for example, those ways look at what the hedge funds do. As the hedge funds use things such as Markov processes and so on and so forth. So they look at small time steps and they try to predict based on a time series which is moving very rapidly, and trying to predict within that, and then they decide if this stock is to be taken or sold or stuff like that. The algorithms which predict that are more complex to do, but they are possible to do. But even they don't have a very wide window because there is no very easy way to sort of find out within that. But this is the way you solve the problem. You take the data from a number of sources and do that, and it's not very hard to do what you're trying to do. Cool. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Srikant, you have a question? Srikant?
Thanks, sir. So my question is that I am starting an online platform, and the platform is inclusive, means uh, younger sibling or elder sibling can teach younger child. A teacher can teach the students, or student can teach someone else also. And university can teach the schools before they join the universities. So now I wish to know what AI should be done, or is there any AI done?
I think we are losing you, Srikant.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, we can.
What is
Yeah.
the platform is all inclusive. I consider everyone as a teacher.
Okay.
So now what has happened? Lot of people have started their own online training, but they have restricted their usage to their teachers and maybe to the administrator. But I'm keeping the platform open. You can log in, you become a teacher, you can teach your son. Second part is the son can teach his younger brother.
Okay.
Now, what is that AI can do so that someone who's getting 80% marks will ensure to get 100% marks, and it is not inclusive that someone passing from Eton and Westminster 85% goes to Cambridge and Oxford, and the state school only 3% people students go. So what best can be done as far as content goes? All the books are available. Mathematically problems are solved also. Automatically problems are generated also. So no content has to be, or for example, um, you take a maths Olympiad. Out of 4 lakh students, only 1200 students pass. But if you talk to those who have passed, they may not have solved more than 400 problems in a year through their tutor or through their exercise. So if we are able to give them 1200 problems, solved problems, where do I make a difference to the student that everyone passes?
Yeah, so in this case, what the best way to think about how you can use AI is to sort of
Can you take
personalize.
next question? I can't hear him.
Yeah, you can't hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We hear you. Okay, carry on.
Can I carry on?
Please.
Okay, yeah, sure, yeah. So in this case, the way you would do that is to try to personalize the solution to the learner, and in this case, you have personalization from both sides, the learner and the tutor. And the way you would do that is try to find out how people are learning and what their learning journeys are, and what you are going to present next to them. And in this sense, the journey becomes more personalized. So the best example I can give you is if you want to look even from a free account is something like DataCamp, which is one of those AI machine learning sites which are free. And they build up a series of examples, but the examples is not static, meaning that it depends on where you are, how you have learned, how others have learned, which are similar way to you, and they present questions which are, so the learning path is not the same. So this is where you could implement AI within that problem. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Ame is the next. Yeah. Ameya.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah. Unmute yourself and you can ask the question. Let me see if he's there. Ameya is not there, so we'll go to next. Pradnesh. Is Pradnesh there? If not, we'll jump to next.
No, Pradnesh is not there.
Okay, so Abhijit Nakate. Yeah. Abhijit, are you there?
Yes, Abhishek.
Yeah.
Abhishek, yeah. Abhishek,
Yeah, sorry.
Nakate is there. Yeah. Hi, Abhishek.
Hi all.
Hi.
Thanks, Doctor. So my question is, see, my startup basically help universities predict the quality of a application at the very beginning of the application stage. All right. So basically helping universities to automate the admissions process. All right. So what we understand is in the admission process, there are some quantitative and some qualitative factor like essays. So now we want to implement the quality of an essay and determining the quality of an essay as a text. Okay, but now the problem that we are facing, doctor, is we haven't implemented AI as of yet in our system. So my question was, for an implementation of AI, do you have to have its implementation from the very first code, or you can build upon it at a certain level?
Right. Okay. So the question is, presumably you're doing some sort of text-based thing because you talked about essays. So I think Bhushan mentioned transfer learning at some point within that. So most of the time when you're building AI, you do not need to start from scratch, especially with a problem like yours. It is possible to train it using existing bodies of data. Therefore, you do not need to start this from scratch. In the case of image-based things, you can take an existing model and retrain it subsequently. This is what transfer learning does. I don't know whether how much that applies to text or not, but I think the problem is not whether you start from the beginning or not. I think the problem in this case is what do you train it with? Yes. So essays and whether those are good essays or whether they are sort of improved essays and so on and so forth. So natural language processing as a subject domain is quite rich. And there is a lot of work going on, especially last year between Google and things like this. So in many ways, I think that this is the area which is moving very fast. So I wouldn't worry about training it from the beginning or not. I would just worry about the problem, because I think that you can get away with a lot of things using how fast this domain is going. Okay, thanks. Good. Thank you.
Nilesh there?
Thank you.
Nilesh is there?
Yeah, Ravi, thanks.
Yeah, hi, Nilesh.
Hi. I think part of my question is already asked. Is mainly regarding the to start a machine learning model, you need to have something like basic data to train your model, like either labels or coordinates. So my question is mainly there's a way of active learning basically. So is there any is there any work like is there any already on this in this field. Basically, I can basically like create my own UI. Like and like in case of like text, if I want to classify a text or extract some information, I can go and like create my own UI. Basically, get some few guys to label the data. But do you think like going through that process will be bit of pricey than something like Amazon Ground Truth, which has got lots of features already available? I think I'm going a bit technical here, but
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. So active learning, basically having the human in the loop type of situation. Yes, this is what you're trying to say. Yeah, that's the sort of domain problem you're looking at. So again, it's a trade-off between many things, but I think that the human in the loop actually is a viable solution for many people, partly because of the problem exactly as you stated, because you actually may not have labeled data at all for it. So there is you need some way to start off that, and that is why you need at least the human in the loop. So the key is that you need to start off somewhere, deploy it, and then learn from it. So yes, the short answer to your question is it's a viable strategy. You talked about active learning. I have used active learning in a data set which was very unbalanced, meaning that it had very few positive cases and majority of them to be sort of okay cases than that. So yes, so the short answer is yes, active learning is a good algorithm. A human in the loop is a viable strategy. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So Anand, what we will do is we are just coming up to an hour. So we will quickly do vote of thanks by Nitin, and then we'll continue. So guys, please stay on. We'll do quickly vote of thanks so that most of the participants.
So I will take it over to Nitin Joshi. As I said in the beginning, though I am the face, we are 4-5 people working together. Nitin Joshi, Sandeep Padye, Anita Khan, my wife Sunita, and I together we run this show. And Nitin Joshi is very well known person in Marathi people around the world. Over to Nitin Joshi. Nitin, take it over. Hello, Nitin. Is Nitin there?
Yeah, I saw his name.
Yeah, his name is there, but he's not there. Hi, Nitin. Anyway,
He's not. Anand, you can do it yourself.
I can. Okay, he has come. Nitin, please. You have to say vote of thanks. You had disappeared from the screen.
No, I'm so sorry. I thought the question and answer was going to go on for a long time because I see so many enthusiastic people here and talking about something which I'm completely overwhelmed. Thank you so much, Dr. Ajit. It was absolutely fascinating workshop, and your depth of knowledge and your manner of expression, both are just really blew me off, to be honest with you, because I'm a non-IT person. So this is completely a new knowledge for us. And just by looking at the chat, people have so many questions and they do need mentoring. And Garje Marathi is really fortunate to have you among us, and really look forward to helping all these youngsters and the young minds and make something so good that everybody's life becomes much better quality. And couldn't thank you enough for your help, and we wish that you continue to help us, which we will definitely be appreciated by not just Garje Marathi, but all the participants, and hope that we get a bigger group of people worldwide involved in this activity. Really thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Bye, Nitin. And can I just come in?
Anand,
Yeah.
can you unmute everybody? We'll give a round of clap to.
Yes, I will do that.
Unmute yourselves.
Mayur, is there?
So I will stay online. Yes. And we will take questions. This is fine. Yeah.
Few questions we'll take. Then I have one request that I will say at the end. Okay.
Mayur is there?
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question is there. I have a IoT startup. We are currently in early stage of development. So how do we think to implement AI and machine learning at this early stage, at the designing stage, right? Because we don't have resources and it is quite expensive to hire the AI and those resources, because we don't know what will happen in the next couple of months, whether we will get customers or not. How we can think of that, design the AI and machine learning, these kind of things in early stages. At least we can think of that plan.
Yeah. So when you say IoT startup, can you expand a little bit on that? Because that is very, very broad.
Yes, so we are in the asset tracking. We are doing Bluetooth-based asset tracking. Yard management, fleet management, warehouse management, like that thing.
Okay. So in this case, have you decided on some hardware within implementing that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have some kind of a hardware which is presumably deployed in the warehouse facility. You have the radio is Bluetooth 4.0. Yes, so this is how it is there. Yeah, and then the question then is how would you sort of build some AI or intelligence on the device? Yes, the quickest and the cheapest way I can tell you without taking too much risk is to look at one of the cloud platforms, typically either Azure, which is very strong on IoT and enterprise, or even AWS is quite good as well. And mostly what you would there do is that you would try to train the model in the cloud and then push that trained model onto a smaller device on the edge. So for example, if you're doing some sort of a camera-based function, then it will be some kind of a device like the NVIDIA Jetson. If you're doing something which is more like a time series thing, this would be something like some kind of a Raspberry Pi or something like that, or any of the devices certified by the cloud. So typically you would then use your cloud vendor to become your channel to market as well. So if you go kind of work closely with either the Azure or the Google or somebody like that, they also will provide you as a channel to market. On this, actually, they are very good at that because Microsoft, Amazon, Google are very good at forming sort of relationships with vendors. So you use their platform and you become your channel to market as well. So this would be the way I would say to be the cheapest and the least riskiest way of doing that. Does that help?
Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Om Shanti is there. Om Shanti has a question.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
Hi.
Thank you. Hello, Ajit. Question, I mean, it's in two parts. So basically, whenever you consider developing AI platform, there are two aspects. One is obviously technical part of it, and the other one is um, domain knowledge expertise that you need. Are there any other factors involved before you try to ideate any AI platform? So that's question one. And second question I have is around how much of a domain knowledge expertise you need to have in order to basically take it to the next level or developing certain platform.
Right. So when you say AI platform, what do you mean by that? So for example, I could say that AWS it has an AI platform, or do you mean something different from AI platform?
Platform means any solution that I may want to develop using.
Okay, solution. Okay, so it's a solution within that. So okay, so again, it's still a very broad question. So I think domain knowledge is needed partly because you would need to sort of provide differentiation using domain knowledge. And the good thing is there are many domains which almost all of them have some application to AI. So we talked about real estate. I talked to you about Dr. Bhushan, talked to you about drugs, and I've also worked in the same area. I talked about cybersecurity. So I think all of those areas, they have some domain knowledge which is very essential to learn. So the short answer is yes, the domain knowledge is important. The first part was what? If you're doing the platform, what was it? The technical side.
Yeah, technical and domain knowledge are required. And are there any other aspect we need to consider before you think about it?
Well, it's the same thing I mentioned in my slides, is that in the end, what is AI? Yes, what is machine learning? What is deep learning? So the point is that if you take away all those words, if you take away all the sort of structure around it, it has to be something which is going to learn. Yes, by learn, I mean iteration. One second person has learned from the experience of the first person. Your third user has learned from the experience of the first two users, and so on and so forth. Every new user, your system must be designed in such a way that it is learning from every user interaction. That's the key.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Ravindra, are we to the end?
A couple of, Amol Parab is there? Amol?
Yes, hi.
Hi, quickly. Yeah, hi.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you, Doctor, for a wonderful presentation. And I'm trying to build an anonymous feedback website that allows people to have a permanent link that they can use to solicit anonymous feedback from whoever that has the link. And because of the prior experience of other people trying to work on this, there is a lot of abuse and that happens. And so, how, in your opinion, the NLP is to detect intent behind a textual message, right? Whether the basic is spam and abuse, but then going to a deeper level of understanding the intent.
Yeah. So in NLP, definitely there has been a lot of progress. So NLP is one of the big areas of AI, which is very much here and now and do that. So the short answer is the intent definitely is easy to detect in pure text form. So I'm working on a problem at the moment which involves trying to understand a psychological situation. So people who, for example, there is some history of people. For example, there is a problem we talked about people who look at tweets and think about, is this suicidal, for example? Yes, is this person trying to self-harm? Things like that. Yes. So post-traumatic stress disorder, things like that, those can be detected from pure text. So the intent is definitely there. I think to a certain extent how it applies to your problem may be slightly different, but the short answer to that is it is a doable problem within where we are at now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amey can contact you if he wants to get a solution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Amol. Yes, I think Ameya is back now.
Amol.
Yeah. I think Ameya is back now. I think. Yeah.
Amey is having question.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, go on, Ameya.
Doctor.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So I am a public policy practitioner along with being a product guy based in Pune. And policies, public policy avenues related to AI, how they could be explored. As you know, in India, so far there is no dedicated policy papers that the government has come out with apart from the strategy paper of the Niti Aayog. So how does one explore? I am a very keen public policy enthusiast and I pursue it as a career. I'm also a visiting faculty at SP College on technology and governance. So I'm keen to promote AI and also participate in public policy discourse. What avenues I could explore?
Yeah, the short answer is I think if you contact me, I will share you some things. So I'm a part of an initiative which was presented in the World Economic Forum. It's called the AI Index. It is created by a UK company, and I'm on the board of directors of that of that advisory board of the company. And they presented in Davos in January, just before the lockdown. So I think that there is a lot of public policy work going on. And until last year, this was all about, if you read about Kai-Fu Lee's book, you know Kai-Fu Lee, the Chinese guy was talking about AI superpowers and stuff like that. But nowadays, people have gone to be much more kind of here and now, as opposed to trying to think about superpowers or not. But yes, I mean, if you send me a connection request or an email, I can share with you more documents in that space. Yeah.
I think
I
Ravi.
would love to connect. Thank you so much.
I think Ravi, we can wind up the session now.
Our Abhay Potnis, last one. Yeah.
Abhay Potnis. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Abhay, go on.
Abhay, carry on. Abhay, can you hear me? Hi, Abhay.
I think he was there.
No, he's unmute. I can see him as unmute.
Yeah, we can see him. We can see him.
He may not be around. Yeah. So I think that concludes all the questions, unless anybody has. I think anyway we're over the time. So I think we'll conclude the session, and guys, you can please contact Anand.
Yeah, and I just wish to say last few words. I just wish to say last few words, if you may allow.
Yeah,
So, Ajit, thanks a lot. It was a very, very nice session. I have got a lot of comments already thanking you and thanking us. I don't know why they're thanking us for arranging this program, but they are thanking you in particular. And I would like to say that this was like to get your some support to implement AI in our Garje Marathi's behavior also. Garje Marathi's behavior also,
Sure,
so that
sure, definitely.
yeah,
Happy to
yeah.
help with that. Yeah,
And
happy to. Yeah, sure.
there are a lot of things happening at our end also. We are very well connected with Indian government, Maharashtra government. There are people working on the back, at the back end or the behind the curtain helping us. There is a guy who was present silently all along. I want to mention his name in particular. He is Mr. Sanjay Davlikar. He is our Maharashtra man. So we have opened our chapter in Maharashtra to connect all education institutes in Maharashtra. In coming few days, we will be connected to 30, 40 top level education institutes in Maharashtra. So that's because our focus is students. Our focus is students. So
Yeah,
thanks a
I'm very
lot.
happy to help with this. I'm very happy to help this particular thing. We should talk about this more. I have a few ideas we can definitely implement through that. Sure.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you again.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thank you again.
Namaste.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Ajit.
Bye-bye.
The recording will be available on YouTube.
Yes, and also the slides you can post as well. It's no problem. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
ending the
you.
meeting.
Thanks.
I'm ending the
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thanks a lot.